Yeah, there you go.
I see.
Let me, before I ask you all some questions, I'm just going to mention a few of the writers who do write what I think are some really funny mysteries. Donna Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
Lillian Jackson Brown, Erlene Fowler, Parnell Hall's Crossword Lady series, Edmund Crispin, an English writer, Kinky Friedman, Jeff Abbott's Joan Poteet Mysteries, Joan Hess, Carl Hyacin, and M.C. Beaton, and many, many, many more. It's another one of those sub-genres that you can divide mysteries into. But I'm curious what you have to say. Many people say it's hard to write humor, that it's more difficult than philosophical treatises and existential poetry. Do you write?
Wow.
Do you write humor in your mysteries? Do you?
Well, I do, but not really consciously. I don't say, all right, I'm going to put a joke in here because it needs something. But I'm always conscious when I'm writing the Sean stories, particularly that he has a skewed look at life,
He does.
a jaundiced look at life, and that needs to come out in the story. So I'm always aware of that. But I don't write jokes.
No.
I've known a couple of joke comedy writers, and it's exhausting to hear them talk about how hard they work.
Yeah.
I don't want to work that hard.
Do you include a lot of humor in yours?
I'm going to paraphrase the actor Edmund, I think it was Edmund Keane.
Yeah.
Killing people is easy. Comedy is hard.
Okay.
I don't mindfully set out to write something funny, but very often as a circumstance will develop, or particularly as characters are talking to one another, something funny will be said or something funny will occur. And I think that just happens because that's what happens in real life. And if we're astutely observing life, then there are going to be some funny things that arise occasionally. And although I don't try to do this consciously, I appreciate when humor arises particularly out of the dark books that I read or out of the dark stuff that I'm writing, because it's a very nice counterpoint to the dark stuff. There's a little bit of a release and a relief there when you throw in something that makes them laugh. And
Exactly.
At the same time they're being chilled, you know?
Well, that's the question that I've heard posed at various conventions, and that is that, and I mean, people come down on either side of this, but there are people who say the humor does not belong in murder mysteries.
Yeah, well, I hear that argument as well, and I look at it the same way I look at the policemen, the law enforcement people I know, who will occasionally be seen and occasionally caught on television laughing, talking together and laughing at a crime scene. There's a body on the ground between them or something like that. I've just read Larry Millett's book called Speed Graphic History, and there are scenes like that. There's some pictures like that in there. And what I know from the police officers that I talk to is that that's the way they can continue to live with that job and the kinds of horrific scenes they see by finding macabre humor in what they're looking at, or in something else that's totally unrelated to why they're there, and so that I don't fault anybody for that kind of thing. I think there's a balance. I mean, I think if you're writing about really horrific things and you have a lot of laughter in it, I think your message is that this isn't real, it's a fantasy, although and we certainly know it is, or you're not taking this seriously, which I think denigrates the book.
You know, I really think humor, I think it belongs in any book if it fits. But I mean, I'm not saying I don't think that murder is funny, but I think people can be funny. And
Exactly.
you know, and you talked about that, you know, if it's a very, very dark book or a grim subject or something like that, you almost need that as a release, you know. But something that really annoys me, I guess, and I mean, I think there are people who do it well, and that is the wisecracking PI. Some of that is funny, I think, and is done well. Some of it, to me, just crosses a line. It's when I read a book once
where it becomes a cliche.
Well, when somebody was about to be needled with some sort of horrible drug, and she was on the bed, you know, cracking wise, and I mean, that to me is that came off as sort of pathetic.
And unbelievable.
And unbelievable,
that-
yeah.
And that really seems to me is not what, I don't want to use the word the bottom line, but that's what it is. If
Right.
it fits, if it's organic, if it rises either out of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
or it's chosen by the author, obviously, but chosen by the character as a way to diffuse something, or somehow fit into a situation, then it can work.
Mm-hmm.
Although I agree with you, the whole idea of the PI who's always got a crack,
Always
got
coming
joke,
back with a wisecrack.
always
Yeah,
a wisecrack.
I think that's
don't
almost
agree.
cliched.
Yeah.
Do you read? Do you choose to read funny mysteries? Is that a subgenre that you really appreciate?
There are writers that I enjoy that are funny. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that I would pick a book just because it was funny.
Carl Shanshan series is a series that I think is very funny.
I do too.
But I read it not because it's funny, but for all of the other elements, and I appreciate that the humor is done
Thank you.
well. But I have difficulty thinking about picking up a book that I know is a funny series,
Well,
and
I mean,
that's
do you
what
read
the
Carl
shtick is.
Hyacin, or do you read?
Well, Hyacin is dark, though.
it is dark, but it's hilarious.
It is funny, but I like
Elmore
the
Leonard-
darkness in it. That's why I read Hyacin, is
Right.
for the darkness.
Elmore Leonard is funny.
Yeah.
Can be really funny.
You think so?
Oh, I do.
I can't recall anything that I've
Oh,
read.
he
of
sets up
Elmore
some
Leonard.
bizarrely
Oh,
funny
well, maybe
situations.
bizarre.
Well, all
Good
right,
word.
bizarre, which
Yeah.
to me is a little bit different. Yes, bizarre, and some
Outrageous.
bizarre or
Yeah.
outrageous characters, which can lead to a certain amount of humor.
Yeah.
And that to me is perfectly acceptable. I don't think of any specifically funny people in any of your books. On the other hand, I don't think they're all that dark either.
I have readers write to me and say, "Oh, I so enjoyed the fact that you were able to put humor into it." And I'm going, "What humor?"
Good. Well, I'm
Yeah,
going to cut
well-
you off because you know what? We've run out of time again. And there's more information about us at our website, which is www.minnesotacrimewave.org. And there you'll find links to previous programs that you can learn about the books we've written, and you can subscribe to our thrice yearly newsletter. I want to thank those of you who have contacted us, and if you have comments, questions, or suggestions, as I often say, we'd really like to hear from you. That's a sincere request. You can email us at minnesotacrimewave@yahoo.com. So we'll see you next time, and as always, read more mysteries. Thank you.
Here, here.